Michael Brennan straightened his tie for the third time that evening, his hands trembling just slightly. The hotel ballroom gleamed with soft golden light, and the sound of old familiar voices filled the air. 25 years. It had been 25 years since he'd walked these halls as a young man full of dreams, and now here he was, 53 years old, a widower, and a father trying his best to raise his teenage daughter alone. He stood near the entrance, taking it all in. The reunion had seemed like a good idea when the invitation arrived 3 months ago. His daughter Emma had encouraged him. "Dad, you need to get out more," she'd said with that gentle firmness that reminded him so much of her late mother. "Go see old friends. Remember who you were before everything." Michael wore his best navy blazer, the one he'd bought for parent-teacher conferences and school awards ceremonies. It wasn't expensive, but it was clean and pressed. His sandy brown hair, now touched with gray at the temples, was neatly combed. He tried to look presentable, though he knew he didn't quite fit in with the crowd around him. Many of his former classmates had done well for themselves. That much was clear from the designer clothes and easy confidence that came with financial security. Then he saw her, Vanessa. His ex-wife moved through the crowd like she owned the room, her blonde hair styled in perfect waves, her red dress catching everyone's eye. She'd always known how to make an entrance. They'd married young, too young probably, and divorced 10 years later when Emma was just a baby. Vanessa had wanted a different life, one with more excitement, more luxury. She'd remarried quickly to a real estate developer and moved to another state. Emma saw her maybe twice a year, if that. Michael tried to move toward the far side of the room, hoping to blend into the background, but it was too late. Vanessa had spotted him. "Michael? Michael Brennan?" Her voice carried across the space, drawing attention. She approached with her current husband, a tall man with silver hair and an expensive watch that caught the light. "I almost didn't recognize you. You look exactly the same. Still teaching?" There was something in her tone, a subtle edge that he remembered too well. Michael nodded, managing a small smile. "Yes, still at Roosevelt High, English and literature, 22 years now." "How quaint," Vanessa said, and several people nearby turned to listen. "Still in that little apartment near the school?" Michael felt his face grow warm. "It's close to Emma's school, makes mornings easier." "Oh, Emma." Vanessa's expression softened, but only slightly. "How is she? Still managing?" Michael's jaw tightened. Managing. As if his daughter was some kind of problem to be managed. "She's wonderful. On a roll. On the debate team. Volunteers at the animal shelter every weekend." "That's nice," Vanessa said absently, already looking around the room. Then her eyes lit up as she spotted someone across the way. "Oh, there's Jennifer Hawthorne. She married that surgeon from Boston. Simply must catch up with her." But before she moved away, she turned back to Michael, her voice just loud enough for the nearby group to hear. "You know, Michael, I always admired your contentment with simplicity. Not everyone needs to strive for more. Some people are just happy with what they have, no matter how modest. It takes all kinds to make a world." The words stung precisely because they were delivered with a smile. Several people nearby had heard, and Michael saw the flicker of pity in their eyes. He felt about 2 inches tall, transported back to being that uncertain young man who'd never quite felt good enough for Vanessa's ambitions. He was about to excuse himself, maybe slip out early and call it a night, when a warm, refined voice spoke from just behind him. "Honey, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." Michael turned to find a woman in an elegant burgundy dress approaching him. She was striking, with auburn hair swept up gracefully, and warm brown eyes that held both intelligence and kindness. She was probably in her late 40s, with the kind of natural grace that didn't need to announce itself. What startled Michael most was the gentle smile she gave him, as if they'd known each other for years. She moved close to him, placing her hand gently on his chest in a gesture that spoke of easy intimacy. "I'm so sorry I'm late. The meeting ran longer than expected." Michael stared at her, completely confused, but something in her eyes told him to trust her, to play along. It's okay, You must be Vanessa," the woman said, turning to Michael's ex-wife with a polished smile. "Michael has told me so much about you. I'm Catherine Hayes." Vanessa's expression had shifted from smug superiority to uncertainty. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Catherine's hand remained on Michael's arm, a gesture of casual affection. "I'm Michael's... Well, we work together. I'm the superintendent of the school district." She paused, letting that sink in. "Michael is one of our most valued teachers. The impact he has on his students is remarkable. Just last month, I had a parent tell me that Michael was the reason her son decided to pursue literature in college. The boy had been failing, ready to drop out, and Michael spent his own time tutoring him after school, no extra pay, just because he believed in the child." Michael felt his throat tighten. Catherine Hayes was, indeed, the superintendent. Though they'd only interacted at a few staff meetings, he had no idea why she was doing this, but the warmth in her voice seemed genuine. "How lovely," Vanessa said, though her tone suggested she found it anything but. Her husband placed a hand on her shoulder, and they made their excuses, drifting away into the crowd. As soon as they were gone, Michael turned to Catherine, his voice low and bewildered. "Mrs. Hayes, I don't understand. Why did you—" "Call me Catherine, please," she said gently, her hand dropping from his arm. "And I apologize for the presumption. I was standing nearby and heard what she said to you. It was unkind and untrue, and I couldn't let it stand without saying something." Michael felt a sting of embarrassment mixed with gratitude. "You didn't have to do that." "Actually, I did," Catherine said softly. "Michael, do you remember 3 years ago, when you stayed after school every day for 6 months to help organize the library renovation? You did it without being asked, without expecting recognition." He shrugged. "The library needed help. The kids needed a better space. Do you remember last year when the Martinez boy's father passed away, and you went to the funeral even though you'd only taught him for 1 semester?" Michael nodded slowly. "Carlos was struggling. I wanted him to know someone cared." Catherine's eyes were gentle. "That's exactly my point. You are one of the finest people I know, Michael Brennan. You teach because you love children, not because it makes you wealthy or important. You raise your daughter with devotion and patience. You show up day after day with kindness and consistency. That's not settling for simplicity. That's wisdom. That's grace." Michael felt tears threatening and blinked them back. "Thank you," he managed. "That means more than you know." They stood there for a moment in companionable silence, watching the party swirl around them. Then Catherine spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "Would you like to get out of here? There's a lovely coffee shop around the corner that stays open late. We could talk about something other than the past, maybe the future?" Michael looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not pity but genuine interest. "I'd like that," he said. "I'd like that very much." As they walked out together, Michael realized something had shifted. For so many years he'd carried Vanessa's voice in his head, telling him he wasn't enough, hadn't achieved enough, hadn't become enough. But Catherine had shown him a different truth. The life he'd built, the small daily acts of kindness, the love he gave his daughter, the care he showed his students. It all mattered. It all counted. It was enough. More than enough. It was a life of meaning. And maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something new. Not a fairy tale, not a dramatic rescue, but something gentler and more real. A connection between two people who understood that true wealth wasn't measured in money or status, but in the quiet moments of grace we offer each other. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, Michael smiled. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen, not for what he lacked, but for who he was. And that, he realized, was the greatest gift of all.